make it a fourth straight win in league play for PSG as they smash Angers 6-1 on Friday. Neymar with a brace, Kylian Mbappe with a beautiful assist to goal as well. All should be well in Paris, but it is not. For more, we welcome back, I should say, Shaka, Gab, and Jules. Jules, the real fireworks in this one apparently after the match. What has Leonardo gone and said now?
Well, he responded to the comments that Thomas Tuchel made yesterday, the day before the game, during his press conference, saying, basically criticizing the poor transfer window done by the club so far, saying that he needed more players, that he lost a few players, a few bodies, which is true. If you think about Thiago Silva and Meunier and since Cavani, plus the youngsters like Kwasi and others, and you knew that Leonardo at some point would respond. You didn't know how, but my word, he did that exactly after the game tonight, saying that I didn't understand the comments made by Tuchel. I didn't accept them either. The club didn't like them too. If he stays, and if he decided to stay, which is the case, he has to go along with the decision that I made, basically. And we knew there was a lot of tensions before. We knew that. Let's not forget that Thomas Tuchel is not Leonardo's man at all. He was appointed by Leonardo's predecessor at the club, Antero Henrique. And you knew that they were never that close. But to get that tension right now is not a good thing at all. And it's not the end of it either.
Jules, obviously there's pressure on Tuchel, but we should also look at the results recently. As I mentioned, now 4 straight wins in the league. Compare that to the first 2 matches of the season, which were absolutely brutal. There has been at least somewhat of a turnaround.
Yeah, some progression, of course, but you expected that. The first 2 games were freak games in many respects. The defeat at Lens first, when he had 7 players out because they tested positive for the coronavirus. He had other players injured. There was no preseason. He came very quickly after the Champions League final and the defeat against Bayern Munich, then the defeat against Marseille at home, with all the incidents that we know, and again, a game that they could have or should have won even. And after that, it got better, but it got better in that 3rd game against Metz at the Parc de Princes when they won in the 95th minute when Draxler scored. Had they not won that game, Thomas Tuchel might have been sacked that same night. So you're right, they've won 4 in a row now. It's looking much better. All the big stars are coming back, although Di Maria was suspended tonight because of his spit in the Classic. But that tension that was there in the Metz game after the 2 initial defeats is still very much there. And I think Thomas Tuchel knows that Max Allegri and Mauricio Pochettino are there waiting. It's a club that they would accept the job. They would take over him. And I think he knows that he can't afford many mistakes in the league or in the Champions League anytime this season. Not now, not in December, not in February, or even later in the season, because if he does, then he knows he will be gone.
Gab, does Tuchel have a point here? I mean, this is a guy who's come out and effectively said, if we don't improve this team, you're going to have to lower the expectations of what we accomplished last year. Is it fair?
I think it's definitely a fair thing to say, but I think you have to know how to say it and when to say it. I'm a little bit surprised, and I think that Leonardo would come out so strongly afterwards, because I don't necessarily, Leo is the kind of guy who often likes to avoid confrontation unless he's almost ready to cut you loose. And certainly that's kind of my reading of the situation here, where all of a sudden, as Jules just alluded to there, he's got 2 guys lined up to come in, 2 guys that he knows very well in Pochettino and Max Allegri. And so he is in a position where he can say my way or the highway. And I think more broadly, and I think up the food chain at Paris Saint-Germain as well, with obviously the issues going on with the ownership, I think Leonardo, in some ways, is much more in charge, much more involved day to day than somebody would have been, or I should say has more power day to day than we've seen in the past, when perhaps Nasser was there kind of on a daily basis and was talking to the players privately. I'm sure he still talks to Neymar privately, but possibly not Tuchel. So I think is a very, very strong statement, and maybe some foreshadowing in there, unless Tuchel goes on a run.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN+.